Good evening, SVS Facebook and YouTube community. We're back here, SVS, with another virtual audiophile happy hour. I have my wonderful colleagues, the National Training Manager, the Larry Magoo. Larry, how's it going?
Good. How are you, sir?
Very well. And of course, SVS President, Gary Yakubian. Looking good as always. Gary, how are you?
Well, you were commenting you didn't like my blazer this time, but no time to change it. But hey, everybody, so great to be with you again.
I think it's nice that you dress up on the top half. You know, I mean, you leave a lot of mystery what's going on down low, but you know, it's nice to wear a blazer, show some professionalism.
Larry accused me of wearing boxers down below, but I am not speaking to that at all.
You're not a boxer guy.
No.
Well, welcome everybody. If this is your first SVS Virtual Audiophile Happy Hour, we like to have a lot of fun. We do some random giveaways throughout the evening. Tonight we'll be giving away an SP2000 Pro subwoofer, a pair of Prime Elevation speakers, a PB2000 Pro subwoofer, and an SVS Prime wireless powered speaker system. So we'll call out names at random throughout the evening, and then we'll contact you, get your information, and we'll be able to take care of all of that.
Hey, can I say, without too much blowing his cover, that our special guest star brought 3 prizes as well? And so it's actually 7 prizes that we're doing for the giveaways.
Very well. Thank you for the reminder. Yes, our special guest today is David Solomon, who is the Chief Hi-Res Music Evangelist for our favorite Hi-Res music streaming service, Qobuz. So we're super excited to have David. He's a big music guy. You know, a lot of
music and sound guy.
Yeah, and a lot of you know, great technology talk we can have, and we're looking forward to bringing him out. So you know, just like we do every day, I kind of want to get a sense. Obviously, we had Star Wars Day this week. We had Cinco de Mayo. Any special things you were tuning into or listening to this week, Gary, that you know, celebrate the week?
Well, actually, to the Mexican theme on Cinco de Mayo, and I don't know if my Mexican friends would agree with this, but we did watch that the latest Rambo, which was available on some service that I'm subscribing, where you know, he goes into Mexico and kicks some serious rear end. But I actually thought that was I wasn't expecting much, and I thought it was entertaining and very well filmed, great sounding. So that was good. The other thing I finally took the plunge, which everyone's been talking about, was we binged on what is it, Larry? The one that everybody's talking about? I'm forgetting the name of it. The one with the drug dealer. Ozark. Yeah. So we binged through Ozark this week, and that was fun. Although
no, you had some comments about Ozark, which sort of showed maybe a little behind the scenes about Gary Yakubian. You said it was a crime drama for people who don't know about crime. Did I get that?
Yeah, yeah. Maybe I shouldn't. I probably shouldn't say that on our broadcast, but that's what I sort of thought. Yeah, that's what I thought.
I've been enjoying Ozark. Obviously, it's not the typical action-y, you know, immersive audio experience, but it's, you know, great dialogue, great storyline. I actually watched Coco with the family on Cinco de Mayo, which surprisingly awesome audio track there. A lot of cool music, obviously, but even some of the effects with the more action-oriented sequences, a lot of fun. So we enjoyed that.
Hey, Nick, the guy who said no spoilers, can I just do one? I'm watching the comments. Can I do one spoiler from Rambo? I've always thought this is what he should do. In one of the ways he kills somebody, which I won't say who or when, he reaches down the guy's throat and pulls his heart out while it's still beating. Now that, to me,
Raiders of the Lost Ark
it was very effective.
Pro level. Yeah. So Larry, I know you've been spending a little bit more time on the sticks, and for you non-gamers, that means playing video games. And you know, with all the kids and dogs in your house, I'm shocked you find the time. But you've really carved out some time here for one particular game.
Well, I did some watching this week, and then I also did some gaming. So one game that I purchased about a year or so ago and did not finish and didn't really get into due to travel was this game called Hellblade. And it's on both of the major consoles. And it's all about the audio experience for the gamer. And it's meant to be played with headphones, but I played it in here on the 5.1.2 system. And no joke, this is going to sound weird, had chills for the first time in my life for anything. And I kept adjusting the thermostat in my house, and my wife thought I was sick. And, you know, with everything going on. And I even got a blanket because I kept getting these chills down my back from the audio. It's never happened before. And so I looked up the game and found out more about it and stuff. And then there just happened to be a trailer for a new one that's going to be launched next year or later. Yeah, maybe later this year. and got introduced to a whole new musical genre too. And I don't know if you want to talk about that or not, but there's some cool music out there that I did not know existed.
Yeah, so you're a big Norwegian hardcore folk music fan now?
Yeah, if you look up the trailer for the second game, there's this music that's in it. And I looked it up and kind of went down a rabbit hole of Norwegian folk rock and got introduced to a band called High Lung. And they have a cool concert, and I ordered it, so it may be part of our demos coming up. I'm waiting on it to come in the mail, but I've been driving them crazy with this Viking rock over the last week and a half.
Get any Norwegian folk rock fans out there? Comment your favorite band. I'm sure there's a bunch. I actually listened to Skugja from your recommendation, and not exactly my cup of tea, but I'm not mad at you, so it was good.
No, it's got a great playlist on Qobuz too.
So the first topic I kind of want to dive in here, this was a question that popped up a couple times last week and in the first one as well. And there's sort of different theories about speaker break-in and subwoofer break-in for that matter too. Gary, maybe you can, tee us off here and talk a little bit about, is speaker break-in a thing? Do you need to break in your speakers to get them sounding their best? What's sort of the overarching thought on that?
Well, that's a great question, and it's very loaded. I'm going to say this, speaker break-in makes a difference on two fronts. And one of them, I think a lot of times people don't want to admit that it's true, but we encourage it. First of all, we test every SVS product before it ever gets out to any user, and we make sure that it's operating within the specs that we've defined. So it should be perfect when you first start listening to it. And that's true of our subwoofers and our speakers. That said, I hear it too often not to think that at certain times it seems to settle into a warmth maybe that people enjoy after using them for maybe a week. Now, having said that, what I would also say is that we encourage it partially because sometimes you need to get used to your new speaker because you're used to the sonic signature of the old speakers that you've heard, and your ears have been maybe a little bit conditioned to expect what they do. And so to get involved with our speakers or subwoofer, you may need a little bit of time to sort of acclimate to what they're doing. So we encourage it because once you do, for example, if you're used to speakers that are, I don't want to make this sound in any way arrogant, but if you're used to speakers that are a little less accurate, maybe less carefully tuned, then our speakers, being not what you're used to, might not sound like what you expected. But you spend a week with them, and then you start to realize where the excellence lies. And so in a certain way, we do encourage it from that place as well. Larry, what do you think about that?
I'm in the same boat. Things do change, and your ear changes, and also depending on the amperage and wattage and everything you're sending to the speakers, it can vary as well. So giving them a little time to get used to everything you're doing. We have guys that I work with in the retail stores that tell their clients to play the speakers for a couple nights at a moderate volume with the door closed and listen to the way things change. And sometimes you can hear it and sometimes you can't. But I'm in the field saying that break-in can change the experience all the way around.
I mean, they're mechanical devices, so I've heard it explained like the parts sort of loosen up, or they end up working a little bit more smoothly together. Obviously, that's not a technical explanation, but it's really a personal experience thing. And Gary, I know you have this sort of theory, or not theory. It's speakers are more objective, subwoofers are more subjective, and I don't know if I got that right.
Other way around.
Other way around. Sorry, always mess those two up. Does that play into sort of the idea behind breaking in a speaker? Like the subwoofer has a single purpose, and it's going to do those things well. And this actually goes into a great question that we have here from Adam Portreus, which goes into another sort of thing we talk about, which is this tractor pull mentality with subwoofer design. And basically, there's this theory out there that the louder it plays and the deeper it goes, like that's all that matters when you're designing a subwoofer. And I know we're getting off the topic of speaker break-in, but what's your sort of overall theory in what a subwoofer should be beyond just that sheer output and low frequency extension?
So I think it's actually a perfect comment, Nick, and a great question to bring into this conversation, because I do say that speakers have to do so many different things, and they have so many kind of characteristics, including beyond frequency response, beyond how loud they play, even beyond how deep they go. There's a certain aspect to their timbre, their voicing, that people are subjectively going to react to speakers as much as they do objectively. And I've said this many times: if you love the sound of the speakers you're listening to, and you choose those speakers, no one can tell you were wrong. I don't think that's true of subwoofers. A subwoofer is a very objective choice, and that's why a great subwoofer will be a match for any speakers. But it has to do, and those of you who have gone to our events or watched them from Facebook Live, you know these. It has to do, a great subwoofer has to do 5 things really well. And if it does those 5 things really well, and it's in your price range, it's the perfect choice for you. The first one is, and the first 2 are kind of obvious. The first one is extreme low frequency extension. All SVS subwoofers go below the threshold of audibility, meaning they're making sound that's so deep in low frequencies that you can't hear it, but you can, Larry, what?
Feel it.
Feel it, right. And that's part of the whole sense of a convincing experience. The other thing that they need to do is they need to do it as loud in volume as the user wants, because this is a product that is trying to create excitement and realism. And when you're watching a movie that has all kinds of action, you don't want the subwoofer to stop playing as soon as the passage is loud, because then you're like, where'd the bass go? It loses that excitement. The last 3 are more subtle, and that's to your point about tractor pull. We don't believe in a tractor pull. We believe they need to have those deep low frequencies and play loud, but they also need to be, number 3, accurate in terms of frequency response, meaning everything that's supposed to be there in exactly the proportion that's supposed to be there in terms of frequencies. Also, an SVS hallmark, they need to be speedy in transients, meaning the quickness of the subwoofer needs to reflect perfectly the content, so that if a door closes, that subwoofer makes that closing sound and then immediately stops. No boominess, no resonance. It's quick and over when it's supposed to be. And then the last thing, because you don't want to listen to a speaker and subwoofers, you want a total experience. The subwoofer needs to seamlessly blend with the full range speakers. So those are 5 things, not just biggest, baddest, loudest. Although our stuff, I would make a case it's also the baddest and the loudest, but it does all those things within the characteristics that I said. Did I miss anything, Larry?
No, I think you hit them there, sir, and you made it right there where I think everybody can follow along in a very easy to understand manner too.
So I think we're ready to do a subwoofer giveaway. How about that?
I think
Sounds perfect. Let's do it.
And just so everyone knows, no matter how many comments, and we love when you leave multiple comments, we have a randomizer, so everyone gets 1 entry into the giveaways here. So leave as many comments as you want, but it is being chosen at random. Everybody gets 1 entry, because there were some questions about how exactly it was being done. So for the first one, we're doing an SVS SP2000 Pro subwoofer, and it is Chad Morrow from Facebook. Chad, congratulations. We will drop you a DM, and we'll get your details and get out your SB2000 Pro subwoofer. Thanks again for tuning in here.
Hey, Nick. I'm sorry. Were you gonna? I was just gonna say something that we kind of forgot to say at the beginning of this that I thought would be good before we bring on our guest. I know. We're getting close, right?
We are.
I never want to pretend that we're not in the middle of a scary time. The coronavirus pandemic, and people are suffering out there. And I never want anyone to think that we don't take this very, very seriously. We view the health and safety of our team, their families, and all of you are what we call the SVS community. That's number 1, 2, 3. That's the first 10 priorities that we have. But we realized as our friends and family were organizing these virtual happy hours that this is also a fun way for us to connect with all of you in a very weird time, because we're not going to probably, at least soon, be able to connect with you in physical space. This is a way for us to be together virtually, and we know people are hurting out there. We don't want to minimize that. This is just a way for us to be with all of you.
Well said, Gary. Thank you very much. I definitely don't want to gloss over any of that, but we have so much fun doing this that it's sometimes you just get into the rhythm. But everything you just said definitely resonates there. So there was a comment here I wanted to highlight specifically for Larry, because I know you go, when you were a road warrior, you were going to what, about 150 movies in professional cinemas a year, or maybe more. I don't even know. But here's a question from Dave Dumbeck that basically is asking, why is the bass, when you go to these theaters, not as good? Is it a hardware issue? Is it just the rooms are not fun, or what's up?
Well, that's an interesting question. I don't know how to answer that 100%, but you have a lot more control over it at home, which I think would be probably the best answer to that. You guys know, I mean, I'm a movie junkie as you kind of look around the room. So I do see about 150 or 200 movies a year in the theaters. And I go to Dolby Cinema, where the theatrical bass experience is phenomenal, but not every movie theater is outfitted with subwoofers that are meant to be impactful. So I think a lot of it has to do more with the control that you have at home and also the type of theater you're going into.
I mean, let's be honest. What we make is designed to sound amazing. First and foremost, what's going on in the theater, it needs to, obviously it needs to play loud. It needs to make bass. The accuracy of the bass may not be the first priority. And then this is really important in pro speakers. They really care about this. It can't break under the worst, most, challenging situation where, you're playing an action movie at super high volume in a big room. It can't break. And so that's a higher priority than whether it sounds great. Our stuff is totally bulletproof for a residential use. It was not designed to be carted around in a pro sound reinforcement environment.
Cool. I think we're ready to bring out our special guest. You guys ready?
Absolutely. I'm ready.
All right. So as we mentioned off the top, today we are welcoming David Solomon, the Chief Hi-Res Music Evangelist for our favorite Hi-Res music streaming service, Qobuz. David, how the heck are you?
Hey, David.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Welcome.
Thanks for having me on.
We are doing very well. And this is happy hour, and it is my obligation to ask, are you joining me in a happy hour cocktail?
Oh, you bunch of alcoholics. Really? You think I would do that? I've got water.
I'm sure.
No, actually, my wife brought me up a gin and tonic, and
enjoy.
Well, she is a
But did you chug yours before the show, like Nick chugged his before the show?
No, I am a total social drinker. Only social, really. But the problem is when I drink, I get super social.
You're in the right place.
So David, you have a history as a musician. I mean, you're obviously on, working for Qobuz now, but I think this is not a fake background. I know a lot of people have been doing the fake backgrounds. That is truly all of his instruments in there. So tell us a little bit about your musical background and sort of what your passion is there.
Yeah, well, music in general, super passionate, has been my whole life. And I started playing drums, I guess when I was in about the 5th or 6th grade. And I've just kept that up my whole life. I love it. And it's just, you always want to be better at the instrument that you're on, right? So I got a set of DWs not long ago. A good friend of mine, Jesse Luna, helped me get them actually. And they're the best instrument I've ever had, but they are so much better than I am. So it's great to have a fantastic instrument that, you'll probably never be worthy of. But yeah, I've been playing my whole life. I still play. I wish I could play more. But being on the road, you guys know how that is. It's super, super.
I used to know how that is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, even now, if you're going to be playing with people, it's got to be one of these collaborative things. Have you guys seen any of these, by the way? These collaborative music
bands are each playing their own instrument. Yeah, it's really cool.
Oh, I mean,
it's a mixed bag, right, David?
Well, so many of them are so incredibly good. That Robbie Robertson from the band has got one. It's got to be my favorite one out there, right? It's on YouTube. You can find it, but it's a 50th anniversary celebration of, I think, The Last Waltz. And they've got musicians from all over the world. And it is just, I heard you, Larry, talk a little bit about, your hairs raising up or big goosebumps or something the whole way through. This is,
Nice.
it's incredible. But yeah, so I play drums pretty seriously. I play those pretty much every day. I can't walk to my desk, which I'm sitting at right now, without passing them. So, you take a little detour from time to time when you really need a stress relief. There is no better stress relief. I've also got a few guitars laying around, and I've been playing guitar too for about 40 years, but I am a total hack. So I'm not really a very good guitarist, although I've got some that mean a lot to me. Just over my shoulder back here is a 1960 J45 Gibson that my aunt bought when she was quite young. She bought it in 1959. She's no longer with us, and she left me this. This was the first guitar I ever had in my hands, and it'll be the last guitar I will ever have in my hands, but it's super, super special. So most of
it, David, it sounds like you came to your passion for great sound from a passion for a love of music, which is the same thing for me.
Yeah. I mean, how can you not? I think we were.
Larry comes at it from movies,
Yeah. Hey, it's just a different experience for me. We're fine with movies. We enjoy movies, but when it comes to, I don't know, that oral thing that you get with music, I am a total music guy.
Well, it's like we discussed the other day. There's different audiophiles. It's the same kind of sense. We all come at it a different way.
Different. That's kind of what I was going to go with. But I will say, just to say about Qobuz, I got excited because I'm a Bob Dylan fan, and he released 2 songs in the past few weeks. And first I thought, I didn't realize it was on the streaming services, and I downloaded it because it was a free download and listened to both of them. And then I got it on. I realized it was on Qobuz, both of them, and it was just so special to hear it in high res on my system. I just talk about goosebumps. I got goosebumps, and I mean, but the day it was released, there it was on Qobuz. Both of them, they came out on different days. There they were on Qobuz in full high res, and it was just totally awesome. Loved it.
So, David, I realize we may have done a disservice to you a little bit here, because I'm seeing a lot of questions, what differentiates Qobuz from Amazon HD or Deezer or some of these other services out there? And, being the chief brand Hi-Res Music Evangelist, I think you're very well equipped to answer that question. So I'm curious, what is setting Qobuz apart, and what do people love about it?
Well, the one really awesome thing that's happening in streaming in general is there's more and more services that are starting to stream high resolution, right? I'm excited that Amazon is in the business right now, and Tidal as well. We frequently get, paired against those guys, but really it's like those are the only other 2 guys that are trying to do it right. So just this time period that we're living in, all the planets seem to be aligning for high resolution. We do have high resolution, and probably more than anyone else by about double, because we've just been doing it so long. And we've amassed such a collection of this stuff. But the thing that really sets Qobuz apart is almost the kind of thing that sets you guys apart from just somebody who builds a box and throws some speakers in it. We are the music lovers. That's sort of our tagline. And it's not just a tagline. It's absolutely true. Our managing director, Dan Matka, he's been in the record business for years, worked for all the big labels and whatnot. Our marketing manager, Eric Benoit, same kind of thing. He's a musician, and I think his album just got published on Qobuz, so he's super excited about that. But what really I think sets us apart from the other guys are a couple of things. First off, we've got a lot of editorial. So if you want to learn about music, we are certainly the place. There's all kinds of panoramas or specials on individual artists that allow you to really dig deep into the artist and learn a lot more about them than you would know ordinarily, or something that you would have to go, find an article or part of a book or whatnot. But there's a lot of knowledge to be had, and on my side, super interesting stuff about all kinds of different artists. So the editorial sets us apart quite a bit. And then the company is super big-hearted company. They're just continuing to give back. Gary, you were mentioning the COVID-19 thing that we're going through right now. Hey, look, we're all having a good time because we're together and we're friends. And a lot of people are suffering through this, and a lot of people have lost their jobs. Yeah. We realize that at Qobuz. So we've got this program going on. I think it's till May 25th. It's called Music Gifts. You don't have to be a part of Qobuz. You don't have to be signed up for it. You can go on our website and download. I think we've got up to, it's 21 albums right now. We're just giving away because everybody can't afford this right now. So it's time to be giving back. During our Gimme Shelter promotion, that was anything that was bought from our download store. All the proceeds that we would have received, they all went back to the musicians and right holders. And then we're doing something like that right now, that every first month. So if someone signs up, say today, and they end up paying us in a month, the $15 that it costs, we forego our profit on that, and we give all of that money back to the artists as well. So right now, while we are in this thing, we're having to do things that are a little different, maybe a little bit. We have to be a little more creative, but really, if we're all somewhat giving back to the people that really need this the most, then at the end of the day, I'm feeling pretty good about Qobuz.
Yeah, that's such a great teaser. I think we need to give away a 6-month subscription. What do you think?
I like that idea.
All right, so let's randomize it up. Our first winner of a 6-month free subscription to Hi-Res Music Streaming Service Qobuz is Patrick Mahoney on Facebook. Congratulations, Patrick. Enjoy your time. And I think we should do an SVS giveaway right on top of that, too. Our next one for that is a SVS Prime Elevation speakers, a pair of those. Somebody can add some height effects or surround channels, or they are the world's most versatile speaker, so pretty much anything. Chad Morrow. Oh, sorry, that's the last one. My bad. Tristan Terry from Facebook. Tristan Terry, you are the winner of the Prime Elevation speakers. Congratulations, Tristan. We'll drop you a line. So I've seen a couple comments here come in, David, about Qobuz's availability in Canada. Anything you can comment on there?
Okay, broken heart here. Totally broken heart. No, we don't have hard plans. At least I don't have a date that we're going to be going into Canada, but I am dying to go to Canada. I was able to bring title to the United States back in 2014 when we came in, and shortly after we were there. And I got to tell you something about Canadians. You guys probably know this just from traveling, whatnot. Canadians per capita are more like Europeans. Huge music fans. And so I want to be there, not because of that they've got the largest population in the world. I want to be there because I love music. And all I can tell you is stay tuned. We'll let you know when it happens.
Thank you. I'm sure there'll be a lot of happy people when you get out there based on the comments we're getting. So, personalizing this a little bit, what was your first experience and how did you learn about SVS? I know you've been in the industry quite a while, but what sort of brought you to our brand the first time?
I'm a little embarrassed to say, Gary, I didn't care. Honestly, I just didn't care. There's so many brands out there, right? And I'd always heard, SVS had great subwoofers and whatnot. I had great subwoofers. I just didn't care. And then something kind of neat happened to this company. Gary Yakubian became part of the company. And I was already a huge Gary Yakubian fan. He was just a good friend of mine, and I love him to death. And so, obviously, it's my good friend. I mean, I want to see him do good. How can I help? What can I do for you? But Gary is obviously very equipped to do things just fine for himself. But, I mean, honestly, that was my first even real interest in the company. So I called Gary up and I'm going, Gary, I got a pair of bookshelf speakers on my desk and I want some bass. I got to get some some bass in here, and oh yeah, let me make you a great deal on a sub. So I got a subwoofer, the 2000, and it has been sitting. It's right next to my desk right now, and I've been listening to it every single day for, I don't know, what's it been, Gary, 2 years or so.
That was a while ago, I think, actually.
It was a couple years ago. So then, of course, I start paying attention to the line, and I go into there and listening to Gary's stuff, and I'm going, oh my God, this stuff is like, I don't have to like it because he's my friend. It sounds incredible. I love what you guys have done with the line. And the one thing I really like about the company is, although the SVS already had some really good product, you certainly didn't come in and go, oh, okay, well, they've got some good product, let's sell it. It was like, wow, we're on a continual path of improvement. That's impressive to me as an entrepreneur, because that's not cheap. And then I see the way Gary takes care of the people that deal with him, which I already knew how he was. And it's like, he takes care of people like I like to take care of people, which is like, what would I do with my best friend? What would I do with my brother? What would I do with my sister-in-law? It's hard to find companies that really feel that in the heart. So I've just become a huge fan in a number of ways. And then Gary tells me, I don't know, maybe 2-3 years ago, he says, "Oh, we're going to get into streaming. I'm really looking forward to doing that." Okay, cool. And then he comes out with this sound bass, and I'm going, "You are kidding me!" So I've got one here that I've got pushing a pair of Martin Logans. I've got Qobuz going through it, and this little thing sounds just absolutely crazy, way better than it should sound. So I'm really digging just the whole innovation of the company. Then, and this may have been before or after the discussion about the sound bass. I think it might have been before. Gary's telling me he's coming out with some powered speakers, and we run into each other at Munich, and so I'm listening to the first, I guess it's the first SVS Prime, and I've listened to a lot of powered speakers. So I start listening to these things, and I'm going, wow, well, these sound fantastic. And Gary said, well, how much? No, I think I said, "Gary, how much are these?" And he goes, "How much do you think they are?" And I'm going, "At least $1,200. I mean, oh, no, they're less expensive than that. I'm like, okay, they're $1,000. He's going, no, Dave, they're like $500. And I'm going, that's too cheap. They're too good for that. And he's going, that's what it is. That's what we're selling them for. So we opened up Qobuz. This was before I got in with Qobuz. So we opened up Qobuz, and my managing director is going, "Dave, look, we've got to have some really, really good speakers at Qobuz, but I don't want to take up a lot of room." I'm going, "I've got the perfect thing for you." So we ended up ordering a pair of SVS Primes from you guys, and that's the primary speaker at Qobuz right now. So how am I a fan? In a lot of ways. It started off from a personal relationship, and it ended up total performance. I'm a total SVS nut.
Thanks, David. That's so kind of you.
I'm ready for a giveaway, Ben.
I think I'm hearing some echo.
It'll go away.
We should do the. David was kind enough to bring 3 of these 6-month subscriptions, which I thought was totally awesome and generous. We should give the other 2 away.
Yep. So our next one is Larry Casey from YouTube. You will be getting a 6-month free subscription to Qobuz. Congratulations, Larry. And should I just do the third one now too?
You cool with that, David?
Yeah, go for it.
Tournament randomizer, Greg Moyson from Facebook. You are the third 6-month subscription winner for Qobuz. So congrats to you. So I think there's probably some folks who are interested in, what's your favorite way to listen? You're obviously somebody who's very involved with Hi-Res Music. There was a question earlier about, are you a 2-channel purist? What sort of listening habits do you have when you're enjoying Hi-Res Music in terms of the systems outside the sound base? Which
I'm a 2-channel guy. I honestly took down my 5.1 channel system downstairs. So, and it's 2-channel as well. So I'm pretty much a 2-channel guy, but I think most of the world is a 5.1 or 7.1 world. And of course, you can do the exact same thing there. There's just more of it. So, I am, pretty much primary a 2-channel guy.
And is there any recommendation when you're listening to high-res music? Is most of it in stereo, or do you have a lot of 5.1 within Qobuz?
There's some 5.1 stuff, and it's almost a mistake, quite frankly. But if you want to find it, if you're in Qobuz, you can just do hashtag multi-channel in the search engine, and then you come up with about 35 albums that are in 5.1. People really like it. Hopefully we'll end up getting into some sort of a multi-channel or more immersive sound, because there are so many products that lend themselves to that technology, and really it's a great technology.
So this is a first, but Larry Casey, who just won the subscription, is a dinosaur and does not stream, so he has no We appreciate your honesty with giving somebody else an opportunity to win. You're clearly not that much of a dinosaur if you're watching a live stream on YouTube, but we love you for being opportunistic and sharing this opportunity. So we're going back to the randomizer, and we have another YouTuber, Joe Dufay, D-U-F-E-Y, Dufay. So you are the next winner of the 6-month subscription to Qobuz. So thank you, Larry, for giving up your prize to somebody who can enjoy it more. We really appreciate that. So I'm actually, one of the things we love to ask every one of the guests we have, because it's sort of a thing of ours, is, this term audiophile, and specifically our definition of the modern audiophile has sort of evolved over time. There were some stigmas attached to it, but I don't want to lead the witness here. So, David, what are your thoughts on the term modern audiophile? How do you define it, and what can you sort of put in perspective for the people, tuning in terms of that term?
Modern audiophile. It's really changed throughout the years, right? These days, and I love the name you gave it, modern audiophile, because that really does say quite a bit. I think a modern audiophile is someone who, first off, you got to love music, right? Or you're an audiophobe. So if you're an audiophobe, there's nothing wrong with just digging the gear. If you're just a gearhead, there's nothing wrong with that. But an audiophile, I think that the first hashtag's got to be music lover. You have to love music. And then the second part of that is you really want your music to sound as good as it can possibly sound. That's a really easy combo for me. Back in the 60s, it meant something different. It meant you had to have a soldering iron in your hand and, putting stuff together. I've done that kind of stuff, and I know a lot of those guys, but really today's audiophile, I think, is someone that just wants better gear, wants it to sound great, and they want their source and the end of their line to sound as good as it can possibly sound.
I think that's a great explanation. And where we like to go with it, being a music fan is obviously more in line with the traditional definition, but, Larry playing his immersive video game and the hair on his back standing up, the hair on your arms, or, just anything, any sort of audio experience that can really take you and suspend your sense of disbelief. That's really what we believe a modern audiophile and being and enjoying the sound is all about. So good insights from you on that. And, I'd like to give you an opportunity, and I'll flash this on screen really quick, just being a little self-serving here. But is there anything at Qobuz that's coming down the pipeline, or, that's emerging in the next few months that the folks should be aware of, aside from this fantastic playlist that you see on screen here?
Yeah, well, we do a lot of playlists. That's one of the things that another one of the things that I really love about Qobuz. When I first started with the company, I said, look, I want to support the people that will end up supporting us the most, which are the manufacturers and the dealers. So we've got playlists from a whole lot of manufacturers, and this one happens to be a very cool one. This one is obviously from SVS, and you can tell. I can always tell because I see so many of these things, the real music lovers, and obviously with this collection that you guys have got, you can really tell they're not the typical audiophile cuts that you see, and there are so many of them. Did you guys choose these songs just because you liked them, or they sound good on your speaker? I mean, what was the purpose of the song selection, and who chose them?
I can
I can say one thing. We did this as a team, meaning I threw some in, Larry did, Nick did, Keenan, who's a big music guy that doesn't do these that often, but is super passionate about music. So it's everybody's different taste. For me, it would be something that is great music first, sounds great second, but others have different criteria. But we didn't have any single one.
Yeah, I'm the same way. And frankly, something doesn't have to be recorded incredibly well for me to love it or for me to get cold chills. It's just like one of those added benefits. If I've got the choice of listening to something that was, really recorded well or something that wasn't, I'll always pick the stuff that was really recorded well in the genre that I want to listen to. But heck, man, I'll listen to Ode to Billy Joe anytime. Horrible recording, but man, it gives me that'll give me cold chills in the grocery store, right? It doesn't even have to be a great system. But that there's a lot of confusion around high resolution anyway, especially like on places like Facebook, and you'll quite frequently hear people in conversations or read people in conversations that will start off with, well, I'm a little older and I don't think I can hear the difference, or I don't think you can hear the difference. You can hear the difference. There should be absolutely no debate about that. But instead of making it from the back end, like, is my system good enough to hear the difference? Have you guys noticed over the last really 5 years, but it's really been a little more than that, how good recordings in general are getting? I mean, I'm not trying to, I'm really asking that. Or have you guys noticed, say, the last 5 years that recordings have taken a huge step up?
Really?
I think some of them surprise me in the positive and some of them surprise me in the negative. Like, they're big budget, like popular things, and they don't sound very good. And sometimes they're mixed to sound good in a headphone, but not necessarily true to the source, I guess. But for the most part, I'm unlike most people my age. I really like a lot of the music that's coming out in the present moment.
My God,
a lot of great stuff coming. There's more music now, it feels like, and more people connected to music than ever.
Pop up, if you don't mind, pop up the screen and I'll show you something. Recordings in general have gotten a lot better in the last 5 years. In general, there are some still pretty questionable recordings, but one of the things that has been really neat for us is that this is our new release list. And if you notice the Hi-Res logos around everything, let's see, I should hit see all new releases. There we go. And then we'll go about 90% of everything that we're getting now is recorded in a 24-bit format. And the reason that I wanted to bring that up is because the reason that I feel that recordings are going much, much better or sounding much better right now is because the recording engineers themselves have got so much more headroom to work on when they're working with 24 bits than they ever did with 16. You really probably remember a lot of really bad recordings in the 80s and in 90s and going into the 2000s that were digital, that were 1644. And really the big thing is if you're a recording engineer, which I've been a amateur recording engineer my whole life, when you're recording in digital and you're, say, stuck with a 16-bit format, not thinking about this from a absolute standpoint, but thinking about it from the way the recording engineers work, they record to a certain level. You've all seen the VU meters, right? And they don't want to get too close to the top of that VU meter because you don't want a digital clip. And what that has really resulted in is a lot of 12-bit and 8-bit and 14-bit recordings. Now, they all come out to 1644 because there's null bits on the bottom. But really, this whole 24-bit thing is more for the recording engineer and the artist than it is even for you. But what it does is it allows these recording engineers to get a lot more out of their recording. So if they start with a 24-bit recording, right, they're gonna make it to 16-bit and probably 18 and probably 20. And that's the reason that these recordings are getting so much better these days. Not necessarily can you hear the difference between 16 and 24 bits. The way you're really going to hear that these days is through the recording, the original recording, that is much better to begin with because it is in 24-bit.
So that's phenomenal information. There's so many great questions coming in here, but we do have to wrap the segment with you. So I'm curious, where should people direct their questions if they have specific inquiries about Qobuz, the services, and the various streaming offerings that you have?
Well, you can certainly always go to Qobuz on any of our social or on Qobuz.com. And then I've got a Facebook page myself called Streaming Music Matters. And I try to make it as agnostic as I can make it. It's certainly a Qobuz fan page, but there's so much streaming information there. And then I'm on there too. So if you've ever got any questions or comments or insults, you can throw them my way.
Plenty of those.
And it's a great group. I've been in there for quite a while too. So there's a lot.
Well, Larry. I like it too. You did a great job with moderating that, David.
Thanks,
Before we let you go, David, we're going to do our third SVS giveaway. We've given away all the subscriptions, and again, thank you so much for putting those up. I know there's going to be a lot of happy streamers out there for the next couple months, and then hopefully some other folks will discover the wonderfulness of Hi-Res streaming on Qobuz as well. But for our PB2000 Pro subwoofer giveaway, going to the randomizer. Benjamin Martin from YouTube, you are the recipient of a PB2000 subwoofer. We will track you down, get your information, and we'll get that out. Again, David Solomon, Chief Hi-Res Music Evangelist for Qobuz. Thank you so much for spending some time, giving us some insights. Really appreciate it, and hopefully we'll be able to connect down the line.
Thank you guys for having me. It's great being with you, and if we can ever help you out in any way, please don't hesitate to ask. Thanks, everybody, for joining us.
Awesome. Thanks, David.
Thanks, David.
All right. Well, that was illuminating, and there were so many questions there that we didn't get to, so we may have to have David back on here in a couple of weeks to get to some of those because they were coming fast and furious.
Yeah.
But one of the things I did want to get to with us, because I've seen it come up both today and then in the previous two, was basically the difference you get with the Prime and Ultra Series speakers. I mean, I think there's a real interest in understanding what you get when you pay the extra for Ultra. And it's a kind of interesting way that we do things here at SVS. So Gary, maybe you could provide some insights on what basically the difference is when you go from the Prime to the Ultra Series of speakers.
Well, I would probably take you on the journey from the Ultra Series to the Prime because that's how it happened in real life. But I guess first thing I would want to say is what is SVS's belief about speaker design. And I think anyone who's been in our events or joined any of our things virtually, sorry, my phone ringing. Should have muted it. Joined any of our events virtually knows that we are all about having your cake and eating it too when we design speakers, meaning that we believe that you should be able to expect refinement and accuracy and musicality, which isn't exactly a word, when you listen to your speakers, but you shouldn't have to give up the fun and excitement and dynamics and bass of a great home theater speaker. So when I get asked at a party or by our customers, hey, what's the best speaker for music? What's the best speaker for home theater? The implication of the question is you either have to have accuracy or fun and excitement. We're big believers that you should be able to have accuracy, musicality, refinement, but also have the fun and excitement of dynamic range, which is that kind of excitement of a loud. I muted my phone. Sorry, guys. The excitement of the difference between the loudest sound and the quietest sound that a speaker can make. Now, when we designed Ultra Series, we wanted to really make a statement with what is possible. How inclusively priced can we make a reference speaker performance? And we worked really hard on Ultra Series. And it really worked out well for us. It basically got us into the speaker business in a big way, where what was being done was sort of turning the speaker world on its ear in terms of what is possible for the price. We really wanted it to be a reference performance, a reference level of performance that's uncompromised by any limitations, and totally shocking when you think about it relative to the price that you pay. And then we embarked on the Prime series, and our mission for the Prime series was to bring as much as possible reference performance to that price range. And they're essentially half the price of Ultra Series. I got some real pushback from some of our engineers who are used to designing speakers for other brands, and they were along the lines of, these are too good. This has to be significantly worse than the Ultra Series, or the Ultra Series won't sell as well. And we never do that. We always say to ourselves, we want to make the best speakers possible in their price range, period. Not worry about whether they're knocking on the door of Ultra Series performance. So I would say that you should be very happy with Ultra and Prime. They're voiced to match with each other. And so you can mix and match in a home theater. You could have Prime towers with Ultra surrounds if you wanted, or a typical thing that we see is Prime bookshelves as a surround speaker in a system with Ultra towers. Things like that work really, really well. And basically what I would say is the series, you have to have a name for a series, but the reality is we just did the best we possibly could within the price ranges that those products are in.
Larry, anything you want to throw on top of there?
No, kind of like Gary was saying, mixing and matching we see a lot of people do. I see a lot of the comments coming through, people doing Prime towers up front, but with the Ultra center and vice versa, and really finding the one that fits your space and what you're trying to accomplish. I mix both throughout different systems throughout the house. The room in here is all Prime, but downstairs is an Ultra center with a full Prime system. So absolutely take advantage of whatever you're trying to accomplish sound profile wise too. They're very similar. So you can mix and match them. They're, like Gary said, they're definitely timbre matched. Yeah,
timbre matched. I mean, it's an advantage when you have the ability to mix between the two series of speakers to meet your needs. And there's a lot of factors that go into making these decisions. And by having that versatility, it helps a lot of people. I did see a couple comments, asking, and at our live events, we use just regular AV receivers to power these massive 7.2 systems in a big open space. And it really, energizes the room. But there's some questions about, what do you gain by going from, a typical AV receiver, especially with like a 7.2 versus separate amplifiers, bumping up the power a little bit to some of the, either the front channels or the center. Like, what are you really gaining by improving and enhancing the amount of power going to each one of those speakers? And Gary, Larry, I'll kick it to you. I mean, you set these systems
Larry's
up.
Actually really good at setting up our speakers or anybody's speakers with normal receivers. I'd like to hear Larry's thoughts on that.
Well, I've always been a mid-fi guy my whole life, so I never did components and separates and stuff. It was just AVRs. But our systems and our speakers together, if you do feed them power, you'll obviously get a little more output and a little more range, but they'll totally run off of AVR. The system in here is a $400 Onkyo. The one downstairs is a mid-grade Denon. And if you do happen to bump up to the higher performance products, you'll obviously get more power. If you're getting into Atmos and utilizing more than 7 speakers, that tends to be where you get into a different echelon of receivers, or going separates, just simply so you're not pushing your receiver quite as hard. But we see a lot of people now, and I see people in here that are talking about it too, where you'll do a conventional 5 or 7 channel surround receiver for your surrounds, height effects, and then maybe throw a power amp up front for your front stage, and it just gives your receiver a little more flexibility as well. And if you run a little more power, obviously you're going to get a little more impactful sound, but it's not something that we say you absolutely have to go out and spend a ton of money on.
I can actually speak to that too a little bit, because I did lay out a vision for our engineering team about this issue, and the principle is basically this. Our speakers need to sound phenomenal with basically any price range component. However, if you are investing in higher performance components, if you're getting separates, if you're getting, and by the way, the people on the comments are dead on. You guys are saying exactly the right things, what we believe. If you upgrade to higher performance components, you should get the benefits of those higher performance components. So for example, I'm fortunate, I have two full-on home theaters and multiple 2-channel systems. One of my home theaters is in a room where we work out. It's more affordable, it's Prime Series based. And I on purpose got, as I think I said this last week, so I don't want to be on too much on repeats, but I got an Onkyo receiver that was on clearance, so it was a couple $100. And right now, that $200 receiver is driving our best speakers, Ultra Towers. In our main home theater, I have Mark Levinson preamp, Mark Levinson power amp, a Lin turntable, really nice Lin turntable, Koetsu cartridge, just great stuff, and it's driving Prime Pinnacles. And the benefits of that really high performance front end come across great. So I want you to be able to benefit if you do invest in higher performance components. I want you to be able to benefit from that. And I saw some great comments. One person pointed out that in higher performance electronics, you will get more dynamic range. It will be more what's called headroom, meaning the amplifier is that much more effortless. And then the other thing is the level of refinement in high performance separates. Like I'm blessed to have some Mark Levinson stuff, which is great stuff. The level of refinement, the accuracy, the ability to create a soundstage you can almost see, even though it's not visual, but you can almost see it because it's so clear. It's wonderful, and our speakers definitely benefit from that.
So this comment I have flashed up here on screen, this kind of gets into the same speaker cable debate. It's probably one of those things that can be a little bit divisive in the sense that, you know, you either have had an experience where it's like it makes a world of difference, or you're like, power doesn't mean that much as long as you have, you know, the stock cables. We're getting towards the end here, so this might be the last topic we cover, but what are your thoughts on the importance of power, you know, and do those upgraded, you know, power cables that you're running to an amplifier, do those make a big difference? Or is it more about what's coming out of the wall, less about the cable that's connecting you to the wall? And so that, you know, that's really the deciding factor. And Larry, I'll start with you. What's your thoughts on the cleanliness and the you know, the power outlet and what the importance there is?
Well, I am a proponent of power conditioning and surge protection, but I live in Texas where we have some pretty crazy storms, and you know, we run a lot of electronics in the house, so I run that for, you know, just cleaning what's going to my gear and protecting it. But it all depends. Everybody's kind of got a various opinion on it, where, you know, you see some of the comments coming in that aren't so positive on cables, and then other people that totally believe in it. But I think power is a great thing to do, because it just also protects your gear. And if you don't have phenomenal power coming in your home, in particular an older home or in a really busy neighborhood or a high rise or whatever, it can absolutely help.
Well, one thing I will say, not to be an infomercial for SVS, because it's not. We're here to talk. If it's anything, it's an infomercial for our love of great sound. But all of our subwoofers from 2000 Pro up have line conditioning in the amplifier itself. And the highest end models have essentially a ground loop isolator to lower the noise floor, protect the subwoofer from voltage fluctuation. So we are definitely big believers in line conditioners, to the point that we literally build it into our all of our subwoofers from 2000 Pro up. And I'm less enamored of the idea that you can have a power cable that would actually make a difference. But I agree with Larry that a line conditioner, especially in places where you have voltage fluctuations, can be a big benefit, and can also reduce or even eliminate the noise that you sometimes get from noisy power lines, light dimmers, things like that.
Well, that's good insights. And again, I think everyone's situation's a little bit different. So, you know, you have to understand that going into it. And like with cables, you know, everyone's got sort of a budget, and what you're willing to spend can sometimes dictate how much you want to invest in a cable or a power conditioner. But I certainly think what's coming out of the wall is the most important factor. And then, putting some things in between there can only help. It's not going to hurt.
Can I clarify one thing? Because I realized when I was saying I'm not as enamored of cable, I was really only meaning power cable, like the thing that plugs into the wall, AC of the wall. As far as speaker cable, interconnect cable, our philosophy on that. We definitely think there's a difference. We just aren't a big fan of the super high price kind of snake oily solutions. We're not a fan of that. But we think if it's affordable and well constructed, it makes a positive difference in your system.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. So we're at 7:00. So that means we're going to do our final giveaway here. And then we're going to have a little bit of a teaser because we're not going to wait another 2 weeks. We're going to be back next week, but I'm going to hold off on that
now because after the giveaway, people may leave, and we have I think we have a big special guest next week.
Okay. So we do these on Thursdays at 6 p.m. So next Thursday, May 14th at 6 p.m., we'll be coming live with a very special guest, DJ Jazzy Jeff, who's been making a lot of noise. He's actually a COVID survivor. He had a really bad case. He came back, and he's been making it a mission to just get out there and spread the word, but also do a lot of cool stuff. He's got a virtual block party going on his Instagram with a bunch of other DJs. That'll be happening this Saturday for like 12 hours straight starting at noon. So I definitely encourage you guys to check that out. He may or may not have a Prime Wireless speaker system set up in his little DJ studio. He's been a big SVS supporter for a long time. So we love that. So we're going to get on, talk to him about bass lines, talk to him about making music, what the whole situation he had recovering from COVID was all about. So we're just super excited. So that will be next Thursday, May 14th. DJ Jazzy Jeff will join us here on the virtual Audiophile happy hour. And we'll put some announcements up on our Facebook page and elsewhere to make sure we get all that locked in.
It's just 1 week away, right, Nick? We're not waiting 2 weeks for the next show. It's going to be literally a week from today.
That's right. We're working with his schedule. This is, really fun for us to be able to talk to various people in different parts of the music and audio industry. So when he was positive about doing this, we jumped on it and we wanted to do it as soon as possible. So we'll be back next week. And with that,
we'll have 4 giveaways again, Nick.
We will have 4 giveaways. I'm not sure if Jazzy Jeff will be giving away anything, but I think just his presence is going to be a lot of
awesome when he's there. I'm really excited. And for those of you who haven't been staying in touch with his career, he's been making phenomenal music all this time. He's really a very interesting dude.
Yeah, he's the more behind the scenes kind of guy, but he's a big audio geek, which you might not realize. So, we'll talk a little tech. We'll talk about, bass and subwoofers. He actually owns a PB16 as well in his studio. So he knows a little thing about heart pounding bass. But we'll have some fun asking him some questions, and we're just super looking forward to that. So our final giveaway of the evening is a SVS Prime Wireless powered speaker system. Going to the randomizer, we are Brian Fuller from Facebook. You are the recipient of the Prime Wireless speaker system, so we will seek you out and get that over to you before the week is over.
Brian, congrats to all the other winners.
And well, one thing on Prime Wireless, I saw a lot of comments coming through about Qobuz and the sound base and Prime Wireless and Play-Fi. Qobuz is fully capable on the sound base, Prime Wireless, and the DTS Play-Fi app, because I saw that coming through quite a bit earlier.
Yeah, so maybe we should say the Play-Fi app that we use has a critical listening mode. You click that critical listening mode button, and then it transmits high resolution, fully uncompressed through your Wi-Fi. So it's one of the few ways you can enjoy Qobuz in its full high resolution on your main speakers using Prime Wireless, whether it's sound-based or a Prime Wireless speakers.
Good point. Yep. If that wasn't clear earlier, it's a seamless experience, and it's really awesome. I use it on my Prime Wireless, which are right behind me. I'll be listening to some Norwegian death metal as soon as we sign off here. So we'll be having some fun there. But again, thank you everybody for tuning in. The awesome comments. We'll capture some of your questions from this week, bring them to next week's. DJ Jazzy Jeff again next Thursday, May 14th at 6 p.m. Look out for the announcement. Eastern time. That's right. Thanks, Gary. We're going to try to stay consistent with this time frame. The support's been awesome. Really appreciate everyone tuning in, and we will catch you guys next week. Thanks so much.
I want to thank all these commenters. What great comments. Thanks to you guys. You made this so much fun.
Yeah, I'd say the hardest part about this is not being able to answer all these questions, and we're trying on the back end to get to them as many as possible. But we just so much appreciate the passion and enthusiasm you guys are bringing. It just makes these fun and makes us want to do as many as possible. So
yeah, and to kind of piggyback on that, thank you to all of you that have been answering each other's questions too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's awesome to see the community coming
Talking to each other.
Yeah, and you can reach out to our service team and chat and all that stuff too. But to see all of you come together to answer this has been awesome. So thank you all for the support here and being with us as well.
Yeah, it's a tough
Thanks,
time.
everybody.
Community means everything. So thanks all. We'll catch you next week.
See you next week.